Welcome to this short presentation on self-titration in vaping. My name is David Burns. I'm the Director of Compliance and Marketing at Lion Labs. Prior to my role at Lion Labs, I spent 14 years in the in vitro diagnostics industry. Lion Labs is a manufacturer of vaporized nicotine products based in New Zealand, and we manufacture and distribute nicotine vaporized products suitable for both the Australian and the New Zealand market. In today's session, we will discuss what is self-titration in vaping. We will look at why users choose to use self-titration, some of the advantages and disadvantages of self-titration, and finally look at some of the products currently available within Australia for self-titration. So what is self-titration? It is the practice of adding nicotine to e-liquid to arrive at a specific nicotine level based upon the user's individual requirements. So why do users self-titrate? Well, when it comes to vaping, there is no one size fits all, particularly in relation to nicotine concentration. There are several factors that impact on what level of nicotine is suitable, and that ranges from the individual and how they use the device, the type of device that they're using, and indeed the type of nicotine that they're using. In terms of the different styles of vaping, there are really two main styles. There's mouth to lung and there's direct lung vaping. Mouth to lung is more closely associated with traditional cigarette smoking and is associated with a higher nicotine level, generally from between 6 to 50 milligrams of nicotine. Direct lung is where they take a much larger puff of vapor, and this is inhaled directly into the lungs, and therefore this is associated with a lower level of nicotine, between 3 and 12 milligrams generally. The type of device is also a very important factor. So the higher power the device, generally the lower nicotine, and inversely the lower power the device, the higher the level of nicotine. So this is another reason why it's very difficult for an individual to have a specific nicotine concentration in mind, because that can change depending on the type of device that they're using. So self-titration allows them to customize the nicotine level based upon their individual requirements and based upon the type of device that they're using. It's also important to note the Australian context. So as we know, nicotine is not available as a consumer product, and the 200 vape retailers in Australia today exclusively sell open vaping devices and nicotine-free e-liquid. So it is necessary for their customers to purchase the nicotine concentrate from, at the moment, overseas or in pharmacies, and then self-titrate the nicotine into the locally purchased vaping liquid. In Australia, about 7 out of 10 current vapers use this method. In other jurisdictions, take New Zealand, there is more scope for the vape stores and the retailers to stock the different variety of liquid and the different nicotine strengths. However, in Australia, that's not optional, so self-titration has become very, very common, and around 7 out of 10 users currently use self-titration for this reason. So what are the disadvantages and advantages of self-titration? So the first advantage is that users can define the nicotine level based upon their individual requirements, and that's irrespective of the vaping device and the style of vaping. It allows the user much greater control over the nicotine concentration over time, so they can taper down the nicotine incrementally over time. And this is not possible with closed pod systems, which have a defined nicotine level and very few steps between the different nicotine levels. It also enables the user to use their local vape store and allows access to the variety of products that are available within those stores. It is also about 4 times less expensive for the user than closed pod systems to use self-titration and use open systems. The disadvantages are that it is more complex than closed pod systems, so it may require some guidance, although many users in Australia currently are very familiar with the self-titration method. It does mean there's less control over exactly how much nicotine is in the nicotine liquid, depending on how accurate and careful the user is at adding the nicotine. Some of the products that are available in the market today in Australia, there's 2 main products for self-titration. The first is 100 milligram per mil nicotine concentrate. This is by far the most common, and this is what users have been using up until now for self-titration. The second is Nicotine, which is a slightly different variation, and we'll look at that in more detail in the following slides. So first, for the 100 milligram per mil nicotine concentrate, this is by far and away the most widely used, and many users will import this from overseas. It comes in two different varieties, in nicotine salt form and in freebase form. And generally a chart like is seen on the slide here will be used to figure out how much of the 100 milligram per mil nicotine they need to add to their locally purchased vaping liquid to get their required strength. So you can see here the range goes from 1 to 18, but it can go higher than that. And depending on the size of bottle, 60 ml is generally standard. They will add this amount of nicotine concentrate to the 60 ml bottle to arrive at the required nicotine strength. The Nic Shot product is essentially an unflavored nicotine liquid that comes in two forms, salt nicotine and freebase nicotine, and comes in three different nicotine levels. So that's 18 milligram per mil, 36 milligram per mil, and 72 milligram per mil. And they are packaged in 10 by 10 mil package sizes. So Nic Shot product can be used for self-titration, and 18 and 36 can be used for self-titration, or it can be vaped directly in the device as an unflavored nicotine liquid. The 18, 36 and 72 milligram per mil levels are purposefully chosen. For the majority of people who are using open systems, they will be aiming to have a liquid that is 3, 6 or 12 milligram per mil, and the standard bottle size is 60 ml. So if an individual is looking for 3 milligram per mil, they will add 10 mils of 18 milligram Nic Shot into that bottle, and they will end up with 3 milligram per mil. Similarly, for 36 milligram Nic Shot, they will end up with 6 milligram, and for 72 milligram Nic Shot, they will end up with 12 milligram per mil. The packaging sizes and the nicotine levels means it's easier for the user. There's no measuring required, so they can simply add the full 10 mils into the 60 ml bottle, so no need for syringes. It's safer handling and it's lower nicotine concentration. For those that are looking for one of these nicotine levels, they don't need to use syringes. There's less risk because it's a lower nicotine concentration and a smaller pack size. Like any self-titration product, it's lower cost for the user and it's more stable over time. So to note that some of these products can be vaped directly if somebody is looking for a higher nicotine level. So if they want to have a 36 milligram per mil, the 36 and 18 is suitable for direct vaping as unflavored nicotine liquid. And then the 72 milligram per mil and 100 milligram per mil is suitable for self-titration. These products are available at Australian pharmacies, and so they can be dispensed. They're TGO 110 compliant, can be conveniently accessed through many local and community pharmacies around Australia. Some of the resources: we have produced a prescribing guidance booklet for self-titration. I would also point you to the ATHRA website for more information for clinicians. Of course, the TGA has a lot of information in terms of what products are suitable. And I'd also point you to a book by Dr. Colin Mendelsohn, which will be available in December, Stop Smoking and Start Vaping. And there's lots of very practical advice for patients and clinicians and some of the history around vaping in Australia. If you have any questions or you require any clarifications, please feel free to get in touch. I'm more than happy to discuss anything of the slides in detail, and I look forward to hearing from you.